why don't you come and make a rainbow with me? This is the rainbow that I've made with the clouds, and I've decided to leave the name off, but you can of course add the name and the stars. And if you have any leftover colors like this, just an idea is I have some styrofoam balls that I covered in the same fondant colors, and these different coordinating balls in the same colors as the rainbow make really nice additions to your cake. I'll show you the tools that I used for this project. You'll need a paint palette with some water, and I have a brush here that is made for edible projects. I use my Color Mill colors, and this is the color palette that we're going to be using for the rainbow, real pretty color palette. I have some cutters for the name, which is optional, and just some little cutters for the stars. And I also have some cloud cutters. These are going to be more two-dimensional clouds, and then I will also show you how to make a more three-dimensional cloud. I'm going to be using today's Satin Ice fondant, and since it's a little bit soft, I also add some of this Tylose powder. I'm going to add that just to strengthen the fondant so that our rainbow will stay up nice and straight. Once you take out your fondant, you're just going to want to give it a good knead. Sometimes when you first take it out of the packet, it feels a little bit stiff. So the more you knead it, the more pliable it's going to get. And like I said, I'm just going to add a little bit of this Tylose just to kind of strengthen. You know, usually the rainbows are they're on a cake and they're vertical. So you just want to make sure that it has a nice amount of strength to it. So I'm just going to knead in my Tylose. So this is the fondant I'm going to use for all different colors, but since I'm adding the Tylose, I'm just going to add it at one stage at this point. I've broken up my fondant into 6 different pieces because that's how many colors I'm going to use in my rainbow. And I'm going to color each piece, but what I want to do is all these other pieces I'm not using, I want to make sure and put them in this bag so the fondant doesn't dry out. I'm going to start with this rose color, and I like to use gloves just because, you know, when you're working with the color, it's easy to get the color all over your hands. So I'm going to start off with my color a little bit slow because you can always add color, but it's hard to take it away. And I'm just going to kind of knead it until it's going to start off a little bit marbled, but I want a nice solid color of pink. And it'll start off light, but the more color you add, the deeper, more saturated color you're going to get. I kind of like the colors a little bit lighter, more pastel. So I think I actually might stop with this amount of pink. I like this lighter pink. And I'll just repeat that with all of my other colors. Check out my colors. Aren't they pretty? Oh, they make me so happy. I love Color Mill. I feel like their colors just achieve such a pretty palette for you. I'm going to make sure and put them back in the bag though so they don't dry out. And I want to show you my key to getting the rainbows nice and uniform is actually called a clay extruder. So this is what I use to make the strips nice and even. And I'm going to use, the clay extruder just comes with all these different attachments. But the one I'm going to use for the rainbow is a circle like this. So this piece just goes in here. I'm going to knead the fondant nice so it's nice and pliable, and roll it and then stick it in here. I'm just kneading the fondant like I was saying, just to make sure it's nice and pliable. You don't want to put the fondant in this clay extruder when it's really stiff. It's going to be really hard to crank it out. And then once I feel like it's nice and soft, I'm just going to roll it into a snake. Doing this just ensures that it actually fits in the extruder. I made sure to twist this handle so that the extruder is extended as long as it can. That way I can make sure that I get a nice long strip. Like I said, I put the fondant is like a snake shape, and I'm just going to kind of twist it in. Get as much in as I can. Okay. And this piece goes on here. Twist on. And sometimes it takes a minute for it to come out, but soon you should see the pink coming out. There we go. Now, if you ever meet a lot of resistance with your extruder, it could mean that you just need to give it a good clean out. Sometimes the fondant will actually get stuck and it'll cause a lot of resistance on your extruder. I may not need this whole strip, but I'm just gonna make it and then I can always cut it. As you can see, I formed my pink strip into a rainbow shape just to get a basic rainbow shape. We can always kind of tweak it a little bit later. And I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna put a little bit of water on the inside in preparation for our next strip. This is gonna be like my glue. And I've already loaded my extruder with the next color. So I'm gonna extrude the next color and do the same thing I did with my pink strip. Do you see how I got an air bubble in there? That happens sometimes, so I'm just gonna take my X-Acto knife or scalpel and just pop it. And then you can just kind of roll it on your board. And I'm gonna take, I've already put my water, so I already have my glue. And I'm gonna put the nicest looking side up and just attach it to the pink. Something you also want to make sure and do in between each color is you'll notice I'm going to have a little bit of residue of that color. So I'm just going to try to get as much out as I can, just so I don't get a lot of bleed into the next color. I have placed this cookie cutter that's a circle just as kind of a guide to make sure I can kind of move it down, make sure both the sides and the center are evenly spaced, and then I can let it dry. So you can leave your rainbow just like this. If you want to make it for a cake, I would definitely make it days in advance just to make sure that it's super firm so it can stay straight up. You can even make it months in advance if you want. I would just keep it in a container with a lid. I'm going to trim the bottom of my rainbow just to ensure that I have a nice clean cut on the bottom. And I actually use this board as kind of a guide to know that I'm level with this other side. You could certainly leave your rainbow just like this, but I'm going to show you a few ways that you can decorate it as well. So I just have some white fondant, and I decided to use white because I thought it would stand out more against the color. What I'm gonna do is, it's just getting a little sticky, so I have just some cornstarch in my little puff. And I'll link where I got this puff. It helps just to keep it so it's not so sticky. And I'm gonna roll it out. So about that thick or so. So I think I like this cloud. Okay. And I'm gonna let these dry flat, because if I try to put on the rainbow now, it's gonna kind of sink down on the sides. And then I thought it'd be cute to put the child's name on the rainbow, so I really like these cutters I found on Amazon, and they spell out Emma. And I'm also gonna add some stars. So these are called plunger cutters. So as soon as I cut them, I can just push this and they'll come right out. I've let all my white pieces dry, so when I pick them up, they're nice and rigid now. And I've placed them on top of the rainbow, kind of where I like them, before I actually glue them on. And I'll just take some water with my paintbrush, put a good amount on. And I'll go through and do that for all of them. I placed all the letters and stars up here to see how I kind of liked it first before you glue it on, and then I'll just go through and glue all these on. And then the last thing that I'm gonna do is I just have a normal toothpick, and I put 2 here and then 1 here. I'm gonna put 1 last here. And I'm doing this when the rainbow is still a little bit on the soft side, just so you can actually push the toothpick through. And that way, they have something to put in the cake to anchor the rainbow. And that's it.